September. We are working on that, making sure that collectively will we defend the Arctic region.
I'd like to turn to Poland now. You have traditionally been furiously pro-American in terms of, efforts to keep them on board as a guarantor of security in Europe. You've turned the term to the Greenland dispute, and again, this was a comment that I understand you made last week, a matter between the Danish Prime Minister and President Trump. Just briefly, do you still stand by that after everything that you've seen in the past days and weeks?
Of course, United States of America are the most important Polish bilateral ally, but we also appreciate a lot NATO. We are the part of NATO, and we feel responsible for NATO. This is the biggest alliance in the history of 20th century. I think, like Mark Rutte, the NATO is stable, NATO is solidifying, but we of course recognize some problems about the Greenland. And I'm looking at the problem of Greenland from the strategic side. We have Chinese, we have Russian. We feel in Poland Russian threat for 3 centuries even, and we understand it at all in eastern flank of NATO. And if we consider, ladies and gentlemen, that global GDP is consisted of 15% of
right.
European Union involvement and 15% of United States of America involvement, but according in terms of security, United States of America paying 65% for NATO and Europeans 35%, we have to consider what Donald Trump would like to say about the security, because he is responsible for security of the world as the leader, and we would like to support.
Do you really think you can stay out of this? Do you really think you can stay out of this row? Do you really think that, isn't this the moment right now for solidarity in Europe? Isn't this key to a united and a strong response?
There is the necessity of solidarity in Europe, but there is also the necessity of building the good transatlantic relations. And I think that transatlantic relations are very important. We know in Europe, Alex, all my European friends knows how many mistakes had Europe done after and before 2022, and Donald Trump tried to convince our European partners that we have to solidify, and his voice is very important because of the financial, because of the strategic, geopolitical point of view. I, of course, hope that it will be solved thanks to all partners on the diplomatic way, and how
far are you willing to go to have good transatlantic relations? Does that mean giving the Americans Greenland, selling the Americans Greenland? How far should European allies go if the Americans do move on Greenland?
We have 10,000 American soldiers in Poland. We buy American military equipment, which is the best on the world. South Korean is also very good, but American is...
and Finnish tanks you buy.
And Finnish tanks.
A little bit of a commercial break here, yeah?
We have the biggest army in East Central Europe. Poland increased the percent of GDP for military service almost to 5%. So we feel responsible for Poland. I believe in Polish soldiers, in our alliance, but United States of America, for all eastern flank of NATO, are very important ally. And those relations are also based on our history. This is the relation of values. We have common independence heroes in Poland and in United States of America. So I think that we should solve this problem on diplomatic way. Of course, I appreciate Denmark's voice. It's natural. It's our partner, Denmark. But I'm looking at the Greenland as strategic point in the geopolitical issue between free world, democracy's world, independence, and with Russia.
President Stubb, I'd like to turn to you now because you, along with the Secretary General, have been known as the Trump whisperers. Now you're on the list being targeted for sanctions. You recently joined the NATO alliance. Is it just in time for its dissolution?
No, not at all. I think actually we're in the process of creating a stronger NATO than we have seen since the end of the Cold War. This is pretty much NATO 3.0. Remember that after the end of the Cold War, a lot of NATO countries actually dropped their guard in terms of defense expenditure and capabilities, whereas a country like Finland, which stayed outside, didn't do that. We still have conscription. And speaking of the Arctic, we have the biggest military force of Arctic capabilities in the alliance. We have 1 million individuals, men and women, who've had their military training in Arctic conditions. So I think we're strengthening actually the alliance as we speak. And remember that we've doubled the border of the alliance with NATO, with Finland joining and then with Sweden joining. So I think we're creating a new NATO where Europe takes more responsibility.
So then take us to the diplomatic efforts and how you are trying to do that. Because, you know, we saw over the weekend, you along with your Norwegian counterpart sent this message to Trump calling for a de-escalation of tension. He responded quite quickly saying he's no longer purely thinking of peace. Who or what can diffuse the tensions over
Rutte.
Greenland, if not you?
Thank you, Alex.
Anytime. You want to take this one, Mark? No, I mean, listen, we're now in a phase in the transatlantic relationship, and you'll know that I'm pro-European, pro-American, and therefore by default pro-transatlantic. We are in a relationship which is much more direct than it's ever actually been. I mean, the communication channels that we have directly with the president and with the administration are actually good and solid. And then, you know, at times there are curveballs flying in different types of directions. We try to catch them and we try to solve them. You know, you have two schools of thought here on Greenland. One is to de-escalate, and the other one is to escalate to de-escalate. And I think at the end of the day, we'll find an off-ramp on this. I'll make two final remarks. If someone would have told me in Washington, D.C.,